Hi, everybody. Okay, let's get started. And I'm sorry it's so late. 1 a.m., 1 a.m., but it can't be helped. There is so much to put together to get it right. And I'm trying to get it right for you, trying to um, make sure that I'm giving you uh, information that the media doesn't want to give you. That's what's going on here. We are being the investigators for our son's case. We're the media. We're updating not only El Paso, but also Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, on what's going on. And um, and there's a lot going on, and that's why it's taking us, you know, till 1 a.m. to come on and give it to you to make sure that that you're aware and that you won't be fooled by these clowns, these very dangerous clowns. Clowns can be very, very dangerous, can be very, very evil, and they can wear, a pretty outfit, right? They can wear a fun looking wig. They can absolutely. Well, it's all about deceiving. It's all about deceiving and doing their little tricks. And it's a circus. It's a circus, and the circuses can be very dangerous. Um, and this one at the border is uh, is very evil. It's hellish. It's absolutely hellish. So let's get started. Make sure that everything is working. And I'm not over exaggerating. Matter of fact, I think I'm under exaggerating how dangerous this is, how um, our security is just being risked every day by these individuals not doing their job, by being paid. Now they're being paid with public money, with public funds, these media, or they get 501c3 tax exempt status. And they laugh. They laugh um, while deceiving and risking our national security, risking the lives of children, risking the lives of women. A lot of women's lives are being risked right now. We saw that with La Diabla. We saw that with um, Mario Ortiz Ceroldi, right? That the magistrate court, the El Paso magistrate court, did not even um, secure the women, right? They should absolutely file protective orders, protection for these women. And they didn't do it. They couldn't do it because they're not legitimate. The criminal law magistrate court is not legitimate. None of them are elected. They are all imposters. And there's good news. We have heard now that there is an open investigation into their legality, right? Because we know that they are absolutely violating the Texas Constitution by sitting on that bench without being elected. That El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, being a court with a lot of power, it has full jurisdiction over the entire county. And when a court has that much jurisdiction, that much power over an entire county, the entire county of El Paso, then the people must have a say so. They must have a say so on who sits on those benches, and they must be elected. Those judges must be elected. And that's in the Texas Constitution. And none of those individuals, imposters, usurpers, what do you want to call them? Clowns, but they're not magistrate judges. I can tell you that much. They're not magistrate judges, they are illegal. And so, because they're, as we say in Ireland, acting the maggot, um, they're putting women uh, in real danger because they can't even order a protective order for them against um, predators, traffickers, predators who violate their bodies without consent, without consent. Call that what you want, what you want. Maybe the clowns know what to call it. I know what a real judge would call it. I know what a real magistrate judge would call it, and then he would file protective orders for these women. But of course, these clowns, these imposters, they can't do that, and so they're risking women's lives, and in many cases, they're risking children's lives, and they're risking El Pasoans. Well, they're spending El Pasoans' money, right? They're risking their economic well-being with this charade, with this circus. So, you can come from many different angles how dangerous this is, how much it hurts El Paso. And then we have the media that are acting the maggot too, acting the clown, not reporting on that there needs to be a prosecution, that there needs to be a real prosecution against predators like traffickers, really, and he even violated their body without their consent and then took them back to their captors, to their traffickers. That was Mario um, Ortiz Ceraldi. And seems like family member or very close to James Bonneau Montoya. And the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office should be prosecuting. It should be prosecuting this for more than a solicitation, right? This is more than a solicitation when you're violating someone's body without their consent, and they are captive, and then you're an officer of the court. And you take them back to their captors instead of to the police department, right? So I think that the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office is also acting the maggot, is also acting the clown, not saying that um Soraldi just solicited. I don't think so. I don't think so, and this puts the whole El Paso and Juarez in real danger. It makes a joke out of it. It makes a joke of a predator that violates a victim, a trafficking victim, um, a predator that violates the body of a trafficking victim uh, through coercion and without consent, and then turns them around and gives them back to their captors, um, puts them back into the trafficking ring. That would be called trafficking too. And then it then grows the whole. I mean, if an officer of court is going to participate in violating women's bodies without consent and into trafficking, what do you call him? What do you call him? And if you let that go, right? If you let that continue, um, you're putting national security, you're putting the security of the entire county, so these people are violating their oaths. You're They're putting international relations at risk um, because of the trafficking. I mean, it's not a joke, right? It's not a joke. It's very, very serious. And we have whistleblowers that have paid the ultimate price, like our son, exposing these terrible crimes. And because the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office is not, is acting the maggot, acting the clown, and because the media is acting uh, the clown. Where is Devala? What is her name? Right, Stephanie Davila, whatever. Is it Deville? Is it Deville? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's her clown name. I don't know. Um, and where are they? Where are they reporting that the uh, criminal law magistrate court that can't offer protective orders for these women? Where is the 2028 stamp story? Where is the Bonneau Montoya, the Bonneau Anthony Acuna story? Where is that? Where is that? Where is the um, Julio Cordero, who shot Julio Cordero story? Where is that? And they are using clown hands, right? And they're feeding El Paso a joke, and they're requiring payment from the very people that don't want a joke. They want a prosecution. They want a prosecution. They want justice. They want accountability, and they're getting a media that is acting the maggot, acting the clown, and trying to make a joke of things by using clown hands and off limits of the 2028 stamp and the mag court. But now we have a confirmation that the investigation into the mag court is now opened and ongoing, and we'll see what happens there. Um, because we're very sharp on that. We are have our T's crossed and our I's dotted, and it's very clear that the voters there in El Paso County have been disenfranchised for many years when it comes to the El Paso since 2015, y'all. So that's a decade. For a decade, they have been disenfranchised when it comes to their judicial system, and then we have the problem with Bonneau Montoya, not using, being deceptive, not using his rightful name, because he wanted, just the Mexican vote, and then not signing his statement of officer, um, as required in the Texas Constitution. And so what is he doing getting a paycheck? He shouldn't be getting a paycheck. He's nothing. He's nothing in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. He's absolutely nothing. And so, um, get out, because we want a true prosecutor. We want prosecutions in these very, very serious crime cases when it comes to Anthony Acuna and him shooting Julio Cordero, the most decorated FBI special agent in El Paso history. Right in the, right. Well, it did a lot of damage to his face. It did a lot of damage to his face, and they need to release the video. They need to absolutely release the body cam footage. And then, of course, we have the MAG court, which is very serious, and the Soraldi case, very serious. Of course, we have the funeral and all the bodies. There's so many cases there. And of course, our son's case, very serious cases that this judicial system is supposed to be addressing. And they can't. They're acting the maggot, they're acting the clown, and they have the media, acting the clown with them and using soft clown hands, and not touching, giving a free pass to major, major stories that are risking national security as well as the community's security there in El Paso and across the border in Juarez. So that's my intro, and today is day 1931 days since Richard uh, was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss. I am his mother, and they took him from his barracks room on Fort Bliss to the arms room in that building, and they took his life. And then they stole his body off of Fort Bliss. Yes, they breached all the security. This is what we're talking about. None of this could be possible if the media was doing their job. And so Richard's life was taken. And that's why President Trump is watching this closely. He's watching this media closely, and they absolutely are are responsible for reporting accurate news. And because they are not, then you have situations like Richard, you have the emboldening of criminals that they feel like they can just steal a body off of Fort Bliss and dismember it and traffic it to Juarez, Mexico. And and that would be all the talk of the town, but they're going to meet that talk with clown gloves, with soft clown gloves, and have hands off or fumbly hands or juggling hands or, a magic trick or something like that, instead of justice, instead of the truth, instead of accountability, instead of safety, instead of honoring their oath and uh, their job title, right? Their what they're responsible for. So this is really, really important what we're talking about. So Laura, thank you so much for coming on. You are on point as a native El Pasoan. You come short to the reality. There is way more going on. We had a 2-year-old protective order back in 2019 against their dad. 12 years domestic violence. Oh my goodness, that's so bad. Um, and Victor Salas gave him unsupervised visits without their dad. Wow. And this is the thing. These judges, they're hurting so many children. They're hurting so many uh, families. Look at they're going after Max Grossman for what? For what? I've looked at that case. We've looked at that case back and forth. They're going after him because they're biased politically. And so they're weaponizing the media, they're weaponizing the system to go after, someone that does investigations and post it. And then if they don't like you, which they don't like Max Grossman, then they want to destroy you and they'll weaponize. That's not what it's for. This is a judicial system. This is the magistrate court. This is the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. This is not, playing games. And why is it that these media people now get a job in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, and then they're not even mentioning the 2028 stamp? They're not even mentioning the MAC court. disenfranchising the people of their vote. They're not mentioning Bono Montoya. They're not mentioning the things that they need to mention. And so this is really very serious. And which comes to the point of my breaking news. My breaking news, and you're not going to hear it anywhere else. You're going to hear it right here, and it has to do with the Plenitude Crematorium. It has to do with over 400 um, rat infested bodies that were um, rotting away there, while the Plenitude Crematorium was deceptive in their advertisement, deceptive in their faith, they were totally deceptive. They need to be held accountable for that deception, because what they did then was just act like the demons they are. You think we have a problem with the media there. Well, some of them probably act like demons, but they're acting. Uh, but um, but Raphael Ariano, well, I need to practice that name. Ariano, um, Quran, he is absolutely um, a deceiver, a absolute deceiver with his Plenitude rotting narco crematorium disposal um, system. It needs to be called a system. And what is the breaking news? We all know about that, right? Well, all of those bodies, each of those bodies, and think about this, each of those bodies need to have a death certificate. Okay. Well, if not if it happened, so when Raphael, the owner of Plenitude Crematorium, uh, reneged on his promise over and over and over again, hundreds of times, giving pulverized animal bones and um, but stones, construction materials in urns and calling it human remains, and giving that away and then keeping the body um, there. Why? Why were they keeping the body there, not cremating it like they had promised to do? And, really. Deceiving the families, the grieving families, also just mistreating the human body if the person was a victim of the cartel, right? Just mistreating the body, which is sacrilege. It's absolutely sacrilege, and and then the breaking news is that every one of those uh, death certificates where he did that, um, that is tampering. So there's hundreds of tampered death certificates. Can you imagine what that is saying and what that will do to the relationship with the United States? I mean, when you can't depend on death certificates, when you can't depend on a crematorium, when you can't depend on a funeral home, uh, and all the doctored paperwork that they use in order to cash in illegally on benefits for burial or for NGOs or whatever. This is clearly huge, absolutely. And I can't even express it the way I want to, because you're talking about over 400 Absolutely, absolutely. There's no other way. 400 tampered death certificates. How many are American? How many are Mexican? How many are, you know, being cashed in through illegal means? Their identity stolen from them. Maybe they had visas on them. Maybe they had other identity on them. Maybe they had credit cards on them. What's going on? Right? What is going on? This is a huge, huge crime, huge implications, especially uh, hearing all about that they're cashing in on these, even the veterans benefits. That all needs to be investigated. And if you were an investigative journalist, right, if you were doing your job as a journalist on the border, you would be asking these questions. You would be holding them um, up to scrutiny. These especially Samaniago. You know, Samaniago has a huge duty in all of this, and he's thwarting it. He's out there fine dining with the owner of the Plenitude Crematorium. I mean, talk about a conflict of interest. So, absolutely. Um, this is huge, huge news. And we will absolutely keep you informed every step of the way. And we want to thank everybody so much for all the sharing. There's been so much sharing lately, and we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And so it's all about communication and sharing. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been doing that, because that is what is going to um, drive the leadership, whether you like them or not, whether I like them or not. It will drive the leadership to do the right thing, and that's what we want. So we want accountability. We want justice for Richard and for those that have been hurt throughout this. So thank you so much, everybody, and I will absolutely be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.